What can fall from the sky? The logical answer is rain, snow, and hail, but it's not all that simple. In various places around the world, mysterious balls of obscure origin, super heavy objects, and even apparatuses with hazardous substances fall from the sky time and again. It's worth learning more about these things. This is Infinity, and in this episode I'll tell you what's falling from the sky all over the world right now. A mysterious object in China weighing 10 tons. Not long ago, China's Seismological Center recorded the fall of an object that looks like a meteorite. Possible origin and characteristics of the fallen celestial object were described by an astrophysicist, professor of the Kyunghee University, Republic of Korea. According to the scientist, the fall of meteorites is not a rare occurrence, as fragments of asteroids, comets, and even satellites of large planets fall to Earth. Nevertheless, this case is unique. Experts assume that the radius of the celestial body is about 3 feet, which means that its mass is more than 10 tons. Meteorites of this size are extremely rare. The chance of such a large one falling is about 1 in a billion. According to how long the glow of the bolide was observed, it can be established that the fall was not vertical but at a gentle angle along the horizon. In a vertical fall, the meteorite would have passed the atmosphere in 3 seconds. At the moment, the exact location of the meteorite fall has not been established. Metal balls in Vietnam. In 2016, a village in Vietnam was rained down with several mysterious metal balls. The Vietnamese Ministry of Defense couldn't explain where the strange celestial objects came from. Interestingly, all of the orbs were found near the border with China and were of different sizes. The weight of the largest one was 99 pounds. The middle one weighed a little less than 13 pounds, and the smallest one only weighed about 8 ounces. It's fortunate that the heaviest ball fell to the ground, leaving a large dent in it and not damaging the property of local residents. According to eyewitnesses, objects of unknown origin fell from the sky. State authorities in the country were trying to figure out exactly where the strange metal spheres came from. According to one version, and by the way, it's quite common, the balls are fragments of a rocket or other flying apparatus. However, after careful inspection and evaluation, the researchers found out that there were no explosive substances inside the spherical objects. They turned out to be empty. The fireball that fell in Japan. Apparently, Asia has a lot of luck lately with mysterious falling celestial objects. Or Asia is not so lucky, actually. An unusual phenomenon occurred in 2017. On November 24th, Japan recorded the fall of a meteor that illuminated the sky with bright light. The object frightened the residents of the northwestern part of the country. The police received dozens of calls at once with reports of a bright flash. Experts from the National Astronomical Observatory believe it was a small object with a diameter of several centimeters. According to scientists, the meteorite could be part of the torrid meteor shower observed in October and November. When entering the atmosphere, such cosmic particles burn up, thus generating a bright flash similar to a shooting star. Steel ball in Peru. In 2018, the fall of mysterious celestial objects continued. On January 27th, residents of the Peruvian community of Larancajawi were startled by 3 spherical objects falling from the sky. On the same day, many pictures of the fireball rushing through the sky over the town of Tingo Maria and Pucallpa, which are 115 miles apart, appeared on social networks and local media. According to researchers, the weight of the balls is about 88 pounds, and their diameter is just over 3 feet. The Peruvian Air Force later explained that the object was most likely the fuel tanks of the SL-23 rocket launched shortly before. But according to other meteorologists, objects that are simply space debris often fall to Earth, part of a satellite that's no longer in use, for example. Scientist Alejandro Fonesca noted that meteors were not approaching Earth at this time. In the end, after studying the find, the Air Force reported the final verdict. The objects were indeed debris from an old satellite. Spacecraft crashes with hazardous substances. As noted earlier, the fall of satellites is not an unusual event. Every few months, one of the satellites burns up in the upper atmosphere. However, as we know, not always space devices have the good purpose of exploring airless space. Sometimes they become objects serving the role of spies. However, thanks to modern technology, it's possible to control the fall of spy satellites and direct their remnants to the unmanned spaces of the world ocean. According to experts, the main thing is to determine in advance the expected area of the fall of the satellite notify state authorities, and take necessary measures to protect the population, especially if the spacecraft has devices and units with radioactive materials on board. History counts many such cases since the 20th century, and now you'll learn about the most interesting of them. In 1964, the U.S. intelligence agencies made an unsuccessful launch of a navigation satellite with nuclear power sources. As a result, radioactive substances scattered over the Indian Ocean. The next event occurred on January 24, 1978. A Soviet naval space reconnaissance satellite with a nuclear power plant on board fell on Canadian territory. The object caused radioactive contamination of part of the Northwest Territories of the country. Altogether, about 100 radioactive debris fell on the territory of more than 38,000 square miles. At the fallen places of some of them, radioactivity exceeded all permissible norms and reached 200 Roentgen per hour. At the same time, most of the territory was not affected. Fortunately, there were no casualties among the population. On December 5, 1996, an American spacecraft of the U.S. Department of Defense, the Oscar 13 satellite, fell on Russian territory. The spacecraft entered the dense layers of the atmosphere east of the Urals and burned up sometime later. The weight of the satellite with fuel was approximately 220 pounds. It's possible to establish that a liquid fuel based on highly toxic components was used in its manufacture. One of the last cases happened 10 years later, on July 28, 2006. This was when a launch vehicle crashed in southern Kazakhstan. The rocket, with 18 satellites on board, started descending and crashed into the ground 93 miles from Baikonur. Luckily, it crashed in a deserted area without hurting anyone. A toxic crater of 164 feet in diameter was left at the site of impact. An investigation found that the maximum permissible concentration of toxic substances was exceeded within 0.6 miles of the crater. Scientists assumed that most of the poisonous fuel was burned up immediately after the fall rather than dispersed into the air. Not only space objects, rockets, and mysterious balls can fall from the sky because of some unusual natural phenomenon and cataclysms, or sometimes because of a number of circumstances, very strange and even frightening precipitations can fall from the sky. From spiders, worms, and snakes to coins and even blood. Stay tuned for more details. Let's start with an old story about unusual precipitation. In 1940, in the village of Meshchery in Russian Nizhny Novgorod Oblast, it rained coins. And not ordinary coins, but old coins from the 16th and 17th centuries. A total of about 1,000 coins fell on the population of the small village. It turned out that during a thunderstorm, treasure trove of coins were washed away and a hurricane swept the coins into the air. Rain of worms. Yes, worms are certainly not as pleasant as money, but such a case was recorded in 2011. The Scottish authorities reported the fall of earthworms. They'd fallen from the sky into the stadium of a school where a PE lesson was just in progress. Teacher David Creighton was forced to interrupt the lesson and send the children to shelter. Later, the teacher and the students collected worms for a long time to show them to colleagues and scientists. They found a total of about 120 worms within a radius of about 300 feet. Local researchers suggested that the worms were blown in by the wind, but the weather was calm and clear that day, so no explanation has been found to this day. Everyone knows Australia is a country rich in various crawling creatures. In 2015, Australia confirmed its status as a place where arachnophobes just shouldn't go. Then, instead of the usual rain, it rained 1,000 spiders. However, scientists explain this phenomenon by the fact that this species of spider forms a strange parachute-shaped web, which the wind easily picks up and carries away. According to local reports, the spiders were everywhere. Scientists assure similar seasonal natural phenomenon occur periodically in Australia. The most famous reign of snakes took place in America in early 1877. At that time, snakes fell from the sky on the streets of the city of Memphis. Local residents were horrified by this phenomenon and attributed the event to celestial punishment. Nevertheless, scientists have been able to find an explanation for this phenomenon. Most often, the falling from the sky of objects or animals is associated with whirlwinds and tornadoes. The force of these natural anomalies is directed upward, and thanks to the wind, everything on the ground ends up in the air vortex. Gradually, the force of the tornado weakens and everything that was in the epicenter of the vortex falls to the ground. Of course, all these unusual natural phenomena are rare, but there are amazing regions where rain from animals is a frequent and even regular event. For example, every year in the city of Lloro, Honduras, it rains sardines, and it happens almost at the same time, at the end of May or beginning of June. The locals are happy about this event, and every year they enjoy collecting fish from the streets of their hometown. People believe that the sardine rain is a gift from heaven and that it was conjured up by a Spanish shaman in the 19th century. However, scientists are sure that this sardine is brought by a strong whirlwind from the Atlantic Ocean. Nevertheless, this phenomenon has already been equated with a national holiday, and for many years now a fish rain festival has been held in Yoro. In the Indian state of Kerala in 2001, a blood-red rain fell. It rained for 2 months. Residents were frightened and saw the colored rain as a bad sign. Scientists rushed to reassure the population. Laboratory tests showed that the rain turned red due to local lichen spores. In 2012, bloody rain also fell in Sri Lanka. Scientists note that red rain also occurs in areas of high acidity or due to dust storms. Colored precipitation, though rare, is not an unprecedented phenomenon. In February 2015, orange snow fell in Sorotavo Oblast, Russia. It turned out that a cyclone coming from North Africa brought with it sand particles from the desert. That's all, guys. What are the most unusual precipitations you personally have seen? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you later.